Governor Martin O'Malley was in Boulder, Colorado last Wednesday during the Republican debate. Not to stir up controversy, but to bring attention to the need for stricter gun control in the U.S. Welcome back to KCCI 8 News Close-Up. O'Malley says he wants to do for the United States what he did as governor of Maryland, keep guns away from the bad guys and reduce crime.
The Republican debate was held in Colorado on Wednesday night, and you happened to be in Colorado.
I did.
Who were you there speaking to, and why that group, and why Colorado?
I went there for two reasons. Not only because the Republican debate was happening there in Boulder, Colorado, but because before it was the scene of the Republican presidential debate, Colorado was also the scene of the massacre in Columbine. And then again, the massacre in the theater in Aurora. And so I was there supporting Moms Against Gun Violence in their effort to elevate this issue of how many people we bury in our country from gun violence into the national consciousness so that we can solve this as a country. Well, they were hoping, and I was hoping, that there might have been a question asked of the Republican candidates for president. And we're hoping that I think we'd all acknowledge that our country would do a lot better if both parties were functioning and offering ideas for the problems we face as a nation. And one of the big ones we face is the number of people we bury from guns and gun violence.
Now, you mentioned the National Rifle Association earlier. You had some success as governor of Maryland in passing some gun safety legislation. What did you learn in dealing with the NRA on that hot-button issue?
Well, what I learned in not only passing our legislation, which we did after the slaughter of the innocent in Newtown, Connecticut. What I learned in that, and what I've learned in 15 years as a chief executive, is that you can't give up. You have to be relentless. And you have to keep asking people to come back to the table around the principles that we share, like our belief in the importance of every single life. So look, it wasn't easy in our state because I had a lot of opposition on this one from my own party
and what kind of
leadership
results?
in my own party.
What kind of results did you show?
These were the components that we had. In our gun safety legislation, we did universal background checks with a fingerprinting and a licensing for the purchase of new weapons. We also banned combat assault weapons, and we banned the sale of magazines with more than 10 rounds in them. We also had elements on mental health. As governor, I actually increased by 80% public access to mental health in my state, even during the recession. And we also had an aspect in there about school perimeter safety. So those were the things that we were able to get done. But did
it show results in terms of fewer shootings in Maryland? Dan, did you see a slowing of gun violence in Maryland?
We reduced violent crime to 30-year lows by the time I was done with my service. And I saw a report the other day when they looked at, part of the challenge we have with this is the trafficking in illegal guns. There are stiffer penalties for trafficking in poached salmon than there are for trafficking in guns across state lines because of the influence of the NRA. But the NYPD came out with a report, and they looked at the top 10 states where guns were used in crimes of violence in their city. My state is not in that top 10 list. There are others that are a lot closer to New York, and I believe that's because we have done a better job. And you know what, Kath? We didn't take away anybody's right to hunt. In fact, when the NRA, you asked Steve how we did this, when the NRA wrote to all of their members and told them lies about what our legislation actually did, tried to scare everybody into believing they weren't going to be able to hunt anymore, I wrote to everyone in my state that had a hunting permit. I told them we need them to hunt. I want them to renew their permits to hunt because that's the only way we can conserve our open space. And oh, by the way, let me tell you about the lies the NRA is telling you about this gun safety legislation, what it does and what it doesn't. That's leadership. Following a poll is not leadership. Putting yourself into the middle of this mosh pit of democracy, actually having the conversation about what's best for all of us, that's leadership. And that's what I have to offer. And I don't believe the other candidates, especially on this issue, can offer that.
Straight ahead on KCCI 8 News Close-Up. What Martin O'Malley says the United States has in common with some of the most repressive regimes on earth. And his answer might just surprise you. Stay with us. KCCI 8 News Close-Up will be right back.